science! Welcome back, fellow Aeternians, and hello all you science lovers out there. This is AP, and today we are going to be talking about our very first ever Aeternian science project shown on the channel. In this project, we are going to be using a laser to show diffraction of light through glass, to determine the diffraction patterns on the glass, and to show you all the different minuscule impurities and the actual molecular structure that the glass has created, or at least the outline of that structure, so that you can see the differences in where the light passes through the glass and how that shows you a depiction of, in detail, how the glass has formed. Which is some really cool stuff that you can do just very simply. You can even do it at your house if you want. I'm doing it in a dorm room. So the very first thing we're going to use for that is a glass bead. And what that's going to do is I'll show you here what our little glass bead looks like. What this glass bead does is it's going to take our laser light, and it's going to shine it straight through that little glass bead, and it's going to diffract it and spread it out so that we get a nice clear picture of whatever we're going to put in front of it, so long as the light can continue to pass through that. Then we're going to get two other objects. Our very first object, well, three different objects. Our very first object will be a glass bowl. Our second will be a glass bottle, with some liquid inside it, some material inside it. And our third one will be a sort of strange looking glass cup. So here is our glass mug cup. We're also going to have our glass bowl, and we're going to have our glass bottle. So that being said, let me show you the experiment and sort of walk you through what I did and walk you through our results. Okay, so here we can see our laser hitting our glass bead and diffracting the light. From there we can actually see the diffraction pattern that our bead is making and all the impurities that are actually showing up in the diffraction pattern of the bead, those darker spots being where the light can't get through just because of how dense it is. Now, when we lower our glass bowl into the light, we're going to see its diffraction pattern start to appear, which starts to get pretty crazy and pretty warping. As we lower it on, you actually can start to see what were the impurities in the glass bead. You can see very similar marks showing up in the diffraction pattern of the glass bowl, where you can see the more dense parts where the glass formed in the bowl are the darker spots where you really can't see as much light passing through. And what's interesting, it shows up a lot better in person, but what you can see on the wall here is actually lines that are curving around the bowl, as you can see in the light pattern, of how the bowl actually shaped in layers of just hot glass, molten glass, that stacked on top of each other to form. And because of the sort of randomness and imperfections of this natural process that happens as the glass cools, you can really see that no matter how great a manufacturer, they'll always come out with imperfections. Like you can see here in the actual edge of the bowl that I'm showing you here where the light's bouncing off, there's a huge, what looks like a big crack in it. And even though this is completely invisible on the naked eye looking at the bowl, what it actually is a denser place where the glass has just hardened and formed that you can still see through with your naked eye, but with that laser light you just catch it clear as day. Right here you can see the bottom of the bowl actually being projected, and as I get closer and closer to it, you start to see where the actual little shaping and sort of structure of the glass bowl comes into play, where all these little dots are, where all this spread is coming out, is showing you how those little silica molecules are formed and are sort of cultured in this glass. Right there you can see again those different little spots of sort of compression of the glass and density, where you might actually be able to see the lines of the glass that we were talking about a second ago actually curving around those different impurities and those little spots where it's warped. And you can even see sort of how the glass formed by how close and how far away those impurities are to each other, and just sort of makes you think about what made that happen like that, why some of them are so close to each other and why some of them are so far away. And again, you can see the shape of the bowl coming through by that different diffraction pattern. You can obviously see as I turn the bowl, the light sort of curves around it and makes these different little shapes and these little what looks like sort of rays coming off of the bowl on the wall. And what's interesting about that is when we get to our glass cup, you'll really see that come into effect and start to look really interesting and strange, because of the difference that this bowl is very uniform, but our glass cup will be very different in its shaping. So now we have our glass bottle. That's our second thing. As you can see here, I put it with the logo facing outwards, so it immediately got blurry. But when I actually get it clear and I get it set up, you can see sort of these wavy lines that go through it. And what that is the sort of stretching of this glass as they blew the glass, and as the glass formed in that sort of bottleneck shape, you can see how it isn't as smooth as the smooth curves of the glass bowl, but is more wavy and more sinewy almost, just stretching of that glass as it's formed. As you can see, there was a little bit of substance in our water, in our clear liquid here, that was actually, I guess, some sort of bacterial growth or something. I had this sitting on my desk for like a month, just sealed, never drunk out of, but something, I guess, got in there and formed. And even though it looks like a very cloudy substance in an actual picture of it, this here is shown by the laser light in a lot more of its design and in a lot more detail of how it's actually formed and how it's actually moving through the water. If you can see underneath where the light's hitting the glass, you can just see this little white cloud looking thing floating through there, and that's what that is, but just magnified by that bead and by the light going through it. So finally, we have our really interesting, really cool glass mug. And our glass mug will have a really unique diffraction pattern, as you'll see here. So as we start to enter it in, you don't see a whole lot of weirdness yet, but you start to see almost what looked like the bowl, and then as I turn it, you see the lines almost start to collapse into themselves. Right here you see the opaque bottom, but look at that. As I turn it, you start to see these light lines collapse and then expand again, and collapse and then expand again, and almost look like they're curling up on each other. And what that is, as the light is going through there, it's actually showing the curvature of the glass from the thin bottom, the really narrow bottom where all the glass is coming together and able to curve around a lot quicker, to the thicker, wider top where you drink from, that's actually sort of expanding that out, and the light's having a longer path to travel and therefore is curving a lot wider. So seeing that change is really interesting. It almost looks like a desktop screensaver or something, just in that interesting pattern that it sort of warps out into and then collapses back on itself from. And so then here I try and get the handle of the mug. As you can see, when I get really close, you can actually see the molecular shape and sort of the structure that comes out of that in not a very clear amount, but you can really start to see that where the light's hitting that and where it's coming through. You can get pretty accurate pictures just with a little glass bead and a laser of where light can pass through this thing and where it can't, and how that structure has been made. Because I mean, these pieces of glass look perfect to the human eye, but to this laser, just to this quick little experiment, you can see a lot of flaws and a lot of just the imperfectness of everything in everyday life, and it's really great to see. It's really interesting. As I turn it, you can start to see what's really strange about it. You can almost start to see right there's the edge of the glass that it's hitting, but right where I have that curve, you start to see a little bend up of this light. And what that is actually it hitting off of the handle. It looks like it's curling in on itself, right where that dark spot is. And as I keep moving it, I'm sort of getting out of focus of it. But right there, you can actually see that black line that's going down. And what that is it's actually hitting the handle and showing the shape of the handle that keeps passing in front of it. So you're even able to see where the glass formed inside the handle and the density of that glass inside the handle from just shining light straight through it and seeing the diffraction pattern of that light. And all of this is into optical studies, which can be absolutely fascinating into understanding how our world works and how things on the smallest scales actually form in the natural world. And even in human manufacturing like this, it's really interesting to see that no matter how far we come, there are always these little imperfections that we just can't seem to shake, that really define what our natural world is made of. It's amazing. And right here you see the base of the cup again. As I pull away, oh, I'm sorry, that's actually the top of the cup. As I hit the top of the cup and it goes into the base of the cup, you can see the light lines go from wide to narrow. And then right there I'm showing around the edge, again wide to narrow. As it goes from the top of the cup to the bottom, now we're having sort of, again, that expansion. And just an overall rotation to show you sort of how those light lines bend around and curve around. Well, it seems like that's going to be it for our video. Thank you all so much for watching, and please make sure to stay tuned for more content, for more science videos, for more micronational videos, and please let me know what you think of all this. Let me know what you want to see next as our continuation into science as an empire, as a culture. Please let me know what you want to see as far as our growth as a nation and what we're going to do to develop ourselves and to become leaders on the world stage of science and technology and of culture and of design and of everything that makes us special. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.